Next up, Dick Van Dyke. It's a big day for the Grammy, Emmy, and Tony winner today. Dick celebrates his 99th birthday. The Hollywood legend, beloved for roles in Dick Van.
At 99 years old, Dick Van Dyke has remained one of Hollywood's most beloved living legends, a man whose charm, energy, and unmistakable smile have brightened screens for more than 7 decades. But just moments ago, a heartbreaking update emerged, and fans across the world are struggling to process the news. Dick, known for his positivity and remarkable resilience, has finally spoken out about something he has kept quiet for far too long. And it's not good. For years, audiences have marveled at how he seemed to defy age itself. Even well into his 90s, he was still dancing, still laughing, still showing the world that joy has no expiration date. But behind that familiar smile, Dick has been facing a battle that he could no longer ignore, and now he's revealing the truth before rumors take over. In a deeply personal message, he opened up about the physical challenges that have been slowly catching up with him. Friends close to the actor say that he has been struggling with mobility issues, intense fatigue, and complications from a recent accident that he never fully recovered from. His once boundless energy has been replaced with moments of exhaustion that frightened even his family. What's even more heartbreaking is Dick's emotional confession that he can no longer do many of the things he once loved. Simple everyday movements have become difficult, and doctors have urged him to drastically adjust his lifestyle. Supporters who admired him for his youthfulness and spirit are now seeing a very different side, of vulnerable, human side that Dick rarely lets the world see. As the news spreads, fans are flooding social media with prayers, memories, and messages of support for the star who gave them so much laughter and inspiration. Dick Van Dyke has faced challenges before, but this latest update marks one of the most serious moments of his life. And now, the world waits, hoping this living legend still has one more comeback left in him. Dick Van Dyke has always been the kind of person who refused to let age define him. Even as he approached his late 90s, fans were amazed to see him dancing, singing, and staying active in ways that people half his age struggled to do. He became living proof that a joyful heart could keep a person young. But earlier this week, everything changed, and for the first time, Dick found himself confronting a reality he could no longer brush aside. The turning point came after what was supposed to be a simple, routine day at home. According to those close to him, Dick had been pushing himself for months, still insisting on doing chores around the house, climbing steps without assistance, and keeping up his daily physical exercises. He refused to slow down. "If I stop moving, I'll rust," he often joked. But his body had begun sending warnings that even Dick couldn't ignore forever. On that morning, he reportedly felt an unusual weakness in his legs, something he brushed off at first. He tried to continue with his day, but the weakness quickly turned into trembling, and the trembling into a sudden collapse that left his family terrified. Emergency services were called immediately. Though he was conscious and alert, he struggled to stand, and the look on his face, confusion mixed with frustration, was something his loved ones say they will never forget. Doctors later explained that the fall was not the result of a single issue, but rather a combination of accumulated stress, age-related complications, and lingering effects from a previous accident he had long downplayed. For someone who had always relied on his physical agility, someone who danced across rooftops in Mary Poppins and performed comedy tumbles with effortless grace, this moment felt like the end of an era. After thorough evaluations, the medical team gently but firmly advised him to make immediate lifestyle changes. They warned that another fall could be far worse, potentially life-threatening. For the first time in decades, Dick Van Dyke was told he had to slow down, not as a suggestion, but as a necessity. According to insiders, this is what hit him the hardest. Dick has never been afraid of getting older, but he feared losing his independence. He feared becoming someone who needed constant help, someone who couldn't move the way he used to. And now, faced with undeniable evidence, he had to accept that his body was no longer able to match his spirit. Those close to him described the silence in the room when the doctors finished explaining the risks. Dick, usually cheerful and full of jokes, sat quietly with his head bowed. It wasn't sadness alone, they say, it was a kind of mourning the version of himself he had been for nearly a century. This was the moment he later referred to as a wake-up call I never wanted. It was the moment that led to the emotional public update that fans around the world are reacting to now. The days following Dick Van Dyke's fall were some of the most challenging he had ever faced. For someone whose life had been defined by movement, performance, and endless energy, being forced to slow down was more than frustrating, it was deeply unsettling. Friends and family noticed a change in his demeanor. The spark in his eyes was still there, but it was tempered by concern, reflection, and, at times, a quiet sadness that was unusual for the eternally optimistic star. Dick's family became his anchor during this period. His children and close relatives coordinated care, ensuring he had assistance with daily routines that had once been second nature, walking upstairs, preparing meals, or even simply standing for longer periods. For someone who had always taken pride in independence, this reliance on others was a difficult adjustment, but it also revealed a side of Dick Van Dyke few had ever seen: a humility, an acceptance that life changes, no matter how much one resists. Medical professionals emphasized the need for a careful recovery plan. Physical therapy, controlled exercise, and regular monitoring became essential parts of his daily life. Even though Dick was willing to push through discomfort, he had to listen to the advice of experts, a challenge for a man who had spent decades performing stunts, dancing, and moving with grace that seemed effortless. Amid this struggle, Dick found solace in connection. Phone calls, video chats, and visits from fans, colleagues, and friends brought moments of joy in an otherwise stressful time. Letters of support poured in from around the world, reminding him that his decades-long career had left a mark that transcended physical ability. Messages praised his courage, resilience, and the countless memories he created on screen. While he could no longer perform like he once did, he realized that his legacy was secure, built not just on talent, but on the love and admiration of generations. Yet, even with support, the emotional weight of the situation was evident. Friends revealed that Dick often reflected on his younger days: the high-energy performances, the dance routines, and the comedic timing that had made him an icon. While these memories brought smiles, they also highlighted what he could no longer do. Every small task became a reminder of the gap between the man he had been and the man he was now. This chapter in his life is more than a story of physical limitation. It is a story of resilience. Despite the heartbreak and challenges, Dick Van Dyke has shown that strength comes not only from what one can do, but from the courage to accept change, the patience to adjust, and the willingness to embrace life even when it looks different from what was imagined. Dick's recent public update was not just an announcement, it was a message of transparency, courage, and hope. He admitted the reality of his condition, shared the steps he was taking, and reminded fans that life's hurdles, no matter how daunting, can be met with dignity and grace, even in the face of limitation. The spirit of Dick Van Dyke remains unbroken, and as he continues this journey, the world watches not only in concern but with admiration for the man who has brought joy to millions, proving that legacy is far bigger than any challenge the body may face. While fans were processing the news of Dick Van Dyke's recent struggles, the most heartbreaking reality was the emotional toll this period has taken on him. For nearly a century, Dick has been synonymous with joy, laughter, and energy. He danced across stages, lit up screens with his performances, and brought countless smiles to audiences worldwide. Yet now, behind the smiles, lies a vulnerability few have ever seen. Friends and family have described how Dick has been grappling with feelings of frustration and helplessness. Simple tasks that were once effortless, walking, bending, or standing for long periods, have become challenging. For someone who has spent decades performing physically demanding routines, the adjustment has been far from easy. He has often expressed a quiet sorrow over not being able to engage in the activities that once defined his life. Even as he adapts, Dick struggles with the fear of losing independence. His family has been a constant support, but he admits that relying on others has been one of the hardest parts of this chapter. For a man who has spent his life charming the world with his quick wit and nimble movements, being reminded of physical limitations is a deeply emotional experience. In addition to the physical challenges, the mental and emotional strain has been significant. Dick has openly acknowledged the anxiety that comes with the uncertainty of aging. Friends reveal that he has had many late-night conversations reflecting on his life, the legacy he leaves behind, and the milestones he may no longer reach. Yet even in these moments of doubt, his humor shines through, a reminder of the resilience that has carried him through nearly 100 years of life. Support from fans has been a lifeline. Social media has flooded with messages of love, encouragement, and admiration, reminding Dick that his impact goes far beyond physical performance. People who grew up watching his films, his television shows, and his performances now send messages expressing gratitude, admiration, and hope. Each message reinforces the fact that the joy he has spread will always remain. Even if his physical abilities have changed, Dick's recent announcement, while heartbreaking, also showcases the courage it takes to face such a life-altering reality. By speaking openly about his struggles, he is not only protecting himself, but also inspiring others to confront their own challenges. With honesty and dignity, he has shown that vulnerability is not weakness, it is a form of strength. And sharing one's story can provide solace to millions who may be facing their own battles. Though the road ahead remains uncertain, Dick Van Dyke continues to demonstrate resilience, humility, and grace. The world may see a change in his abilities, but what remains unchanged is his spirit, his humor, and his unparalleled ability to touch hearts. This chapter is a reminder that even legends must face human challenges, and that strength often emerges most powerfully in the moments of vulnerability. As the world absorbed Dick Van Dyke's shocking announcement, the final chapter of this difficult period began to unfold, one filled not only with challenges, but with hope, resilience, and the unwavering human spirit. For a man whose life has been defined by laughter, dance, and energy, finding optimism in the face of limitation is no small feat. Yet Dick has approached this chapter with a humility and grace that continue to inspire millions. Since his fall and the subsequent diagnosis of age-related complications, Dick has been navigating a new routine, carefully balancing physical therapy, medical guidance, and rest. Friends say he approaches each day with a mixture of patience and determination. While there are moments of frustration inevitable, for anyone forced to confront the loss of independence, he has found small victories that keep him motivated. Simple accomplishments, like walking a little farther than the day before or standing unaided for a few extra minutes, are now celebrated with the same joy as landing a dance number on set. Family has been central to his recovery, offering unwavering support and love. Dick often reflects on the importance of connection, emphasizing that even legends rely on the people around them. His children, grandchildren, and close friends have become pillars, helping him maintain both physical safety and emotional strength. Their encouragement reminds him that life's value is not measured solely by what one can do, but by the love and bonds one shares with others. Fans, too, have played a critical role in lifting his spirits. Social media has exploded with messages of support, memories of his performances, and heartfelt encouragement. Letters and calls from admirers around the world remind Dick that his influence extends far beyond the screen. Even if he can no longer dance across a stage or perform stunts like he once did, his legacy is secure. Every laugh he inspired, every moment of joy he created, continues to ripple through generations. In public statements, Dick has emphasized the importance of gratitude and perspective. He speaks openly about how this chapter has changed his outlook on life, deepening his appreciation for small moments that were once taken for granted. The ability to enjoy a quiet morning, a conversation with loved ones, or a simple walk outside has taken on profound meaning. Ultimately, this chapter of Dick Van Dyke's life is not just about loss, it's about adaptation, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Even in the face of physical limitations, he demonstrates that hope, determination, and humor can shine through. His message is clear. While life inevitably brings challenges, it also provides opportunities for growth, reflection, and connection. For fans around the world, this chapter serves as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration. It reminds us that even those we idolize face hardship, yet strength can emerge from vulnerability. And for Dick Van Dyke, the journey continues not as the same energetic performer of decades past, But as a man whose spirit, humor, and heart remain as bright as ever, his story, though heartbreaking, is also profoundly uplifting, a reminder that even legends must face human struggles, and that true courage lies in meeting life's challenges with grace, gratitude, and an unbreakable spirit.